So that's amazing, Crystal, because we kind of feel the same way. We're kind of like in the same industry because we help melanated families, okay, who are business entrepreneurs. And as you said, women gravitate to you, the families kind of gravitate to us. So what made you start this being in this particular industry? What was it about this industry that you want to help people in general just get their finances together?
I love that question because the reason I got into this industry was because I didn't grow up learning and knowing about money or invest. And in typical Black households, we didn't talk about money because we didn't have any money. So it wasn't anything to talk about. So for me, I realized that there was something that I needed to learn in order to be able to build wealth because I didn't see it. I didn't know it. So I had to learn it for myself. So selfishly, I got into the industry for myself to be able to learn how to build wealth and then be able to pass that information on. So it really was an introduction to how are people out here making their money grow and build, and realizing that there's not a whole lot of like real high tech strategies. It's more so just knowing when and where to implement those strategies to make sure that it makes sense for you to have your money working for you as hard as you're working for it. So that was my introduction. I was working at Dillard's at the time, and an angel came through my line, and I call her my angel because I'll tell you the story, but she came through my line and we started talking about investments, and she happened to be a manager at Fidelity. And so we started talking about investments, and she asked me if I was interested in the investing world, and she told me to apply at Fidelity, and I did. And the reason I call her my angel is because I got that job, but I never saw her again. I have no idea what her name is. I have no idea who she is. I never saw her again. So she was my angel to lead me into this industry, and that was directly out of college. And so I've been in it ever since. It's been 17 years going strong.
That is that's truly an angel. That was because evidently the universe was aligning that for you, and then for somebody to walk into your life, and then here it is 17 years later. It's so interesting because you're saying, okay, so you're close to 40, right?
Yeah, 39.
Okay. Right. So I can tell when you say you graduated college and 17 years later. But you said something that was super duper important. You said that in the melanated community, we didn't talk about finances. We didn't talk about credit. We didn't talk about investments. We didn't talk about insurance. We didn't talk about, I'm not a big saver because I feel like what you put in savings, you should put in investing so it can grow, because savings don't make any money. I mean, I'm just saying. Okay. But it's true. I'm 55, you're 39. So I'm big sis, so to speak. But they did not. One thing I honestly remember them saying was cut them credit cards. I don't want to be in credit card debt. I was like, that's what I honestly remember. Pay your bills on time. Or we would see people going to the pawn shop all the time, because they're trying to pawn TVs or something like that. Or go to these, payday loans and stuff like that. So it's like all of these things were constantly and still are to this day pushed into our community. And then the interesting part, when I got my insurance license, I remember them saying, just sell final expense to the Black community. Isn't that something?
It's so sad because it's the cheapest, it's the easiest, and it doesn't have anything to do with health or wealth building. So yeah, I can completely understand that.
No, it's so sad at all. Get a $15,000 policy so we can make sure you get your buried, but not, hey, term is for death, whole is for living. Why are you not teaching? Why didn't you focus that on us to, because we want to build wealth too? And I don't know if you ever seen the movies back in the day when they would show, or if you would hear how they would show how they would play the numbers, right? They would play the numbers. So everything for us has always been hustle mentality or survival mentality. Okay. But now with the internet, some things have definitely changed. And how has it, let's see here. So you were 10 years old when the internet came out.
When dial-up came out.
And I can say that because my oldest son is 29. And I remember when he was born, AOL had just came out. Mm-hmm. So how does it feel for you in this day and time with the internet space?
I feel like it has completely eliminated our excuses. We had the excuses before because our family didn't know, they couldn't teach us. We didn't know. We were told to go to school, get a good job, hopefully retire in 40 years with a gold watch and a pension like our grandparents did, right? We know that that's now a thing of the past. But now with the internet, there's so much access to information. Now now it's a choice to be ignorant to the things of how you build wealth. Now you have to be intentionally, oblivious to actually building wealth or the strategies and techniques that are out there. Not saying that you should listen to everything on the internet, but the internet definitely gives you the information, or gives you access to the information and access to the right people. Because what I realized was that wealthy people weren't wealthy because they knew everything. They were wealthy because they knew the right people who knew the right things. So they were surrounded by a team of advisors that would hold them accountable in certain areas and tell them what to do in order to cover this thing and to make more money in this area. We did not have that, nor did we even know what that is. Like, I wasn't even understanding what a financial advisor is. And most of the Black people in our community don't understand it to this day. They have no idea what an
They don't
advisor
think they need it.
No, they think that they didn't need a bunch of money to have an advisor, when in reality is you need to have an advisor to help you get a bunch of money.
Correct. Correct. It's the opposite. It's the opposite.
Exactly, because you don't know what you don't know. So now we have so much access to information. So you have to seek out the proper information from the proper sources, the people who are licensed, the people who are held accountable. Being a financial advisor and being a fiduciary, I'm held accountable for the things that I tell my clients, which is why you won't see licensed financial professionals on the internet spewing out generalities, because we're not able to do that. When you hear people, these gurus talking about different things, hold your horses and know that there's way more behind the scenes than that 10-second snippet that you just heard come out of their mouth. And it's not saying what they're saying is incorrect. Everything has a place when it is used properly. There's no such thing as an improper tool. People talk about, like you were saying, term and versus permanent. Which one is better? Both of them have their purpose. There is a need for each one. Correct. And they can work in conjunction with each other. So I will tell my clients all day, we'll start with term so that we know that you have some coverage. And then we will look at the permanent insurance, the whole life, the universal life, for the amount that you can afford. But you have that foundation. So I really think that now more than ever, there's been a shift, especially since the pandemic. Because what it did.
In a planned scam-demic?
That right there. Exactly. But it had a different effect than what we really thought it was, right? It scared everybody, but it also opened up so many doors for all these pandemic millionaires and entrepreneurs that came in and took this opportunity to make millions and millions of dollars, which was not the plan, by the way. But correct. When we are given the right environment and the right opportunity, we can flourish.
Yes, we as melanated communities, let me just roll it back. So what you're basically saying is a choice to be broke.
Absolutely. 100%.
Because there's so much information. Remember the girl that went out, she took her stimulus check and now she is worth, she's millions, remarried.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Making millions, helping the community. Like you said, it's an excuse and it's a choice. Okay. And you have to make a decision on, do I make a change for me and my family? Yes, some information is not correct on the internet. So you do have to find an advisor or a mentor or a counselor that's an expert in the industry. So you definitely need to vet individuals and make sure that they have a track record or something that shows that, not something that somebody just made up, a track record to show that they have helped other people successfully do what they need to do to bring them and their family to another level. So I want to ask you, do you have a family currently?
Okay. I am no longer married. I'm a divorcee and I have 2 beautiful daughters from it.
Oh, how old are they?
10 and 16.
So they running you.
Oh, listen, it's a lot going on in this household, okay?
So it's interesting because your babies are 10 and 16. And the only reason why I asked that question is, and even though you're a financial expert, that's how I see you. Okay. Is it difficult teaching them about money now versus like when you were a kid? Because now it's like they want $1,000 phones. Okay. That's what computers were for us back in the day. All right. So do they have an understanding? They asking for stuff all the time. I mean, it's
Though the greatest thing about it is my daughters are amazing when it comes to understanding money. And I realize it because I've shown them throughout their lifetime how I value money, how I've saved and invest. I've saved and invest for them, since they were young, but I involve them in that process. So they get to look at their accounts that I've put savings and investments away for them. So they know they have their own personal bank savings account. They have their own investment account. They have their 529 accounts. So they literally are able to see what I'm saying. They can see, oh, the money grew from $800 to $1,000. They can see, oh, I have $200 in my bank savings account. They understand the relationship with money because they see
right.
it. They get it in conversation. So if I'm talking about a stock and I'm saying, oh, Apple went up today and mommy just made an extra, $2,000 in my portfolio, they're listening to that. They're understanding that. And it's like, oh, okay, I let my daughters choose the stocks that they wanted to put in their portfolio. They got to make that choice because I wanted them to be involved. I told them what my first stock was. I told them why I bought it, and I let them choose. So I didn't care if it was a good stock or not. I wanted them to be involved in the process so that they can learn and they can understand. And my 16-year-old was in class a couple months ago, and her teacher asked, does anybody own any stock? And she was the only person in the class who was able to raise her hand and say, yes, I own stock. And I was so proud just to be able to, be that person who's facilitating that for them. So they don't ask for a whole lot. They literally will ask for anything expensive just for Christmas or for their birthdays. That's not asking in between, because they know mommy is not splurging money on just anything and everything, but I'm living by example. So they know if I'm not spending $1,000 on an iPhone just because, then they can't expect that either. So that's the difference in the way I have raised my daughters, and they have taken it on phenomenally. I'm so proud of them.
So they have become clone Crystal. Okay. They are cloned. Okay. They're like, mommy didn't do it. We're not doing it. Okay.
Exactly.
Right. That's amazing because, again, in our community, a lot of them didn't even know how to manage money. Okay. I remember growing up and my mom would say, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Mm-hmm. And I tell this story all the time. And I'd be like, oh my God, my mom's going to jail because she's robbing Peter. And I'm like, who the heck is Paul? I don't know any of these people. Who are these people? Why are you wanted? Because that's, because words are powerful, right?
Very.
Words are very, very powerful. And it's funny because my mom didn't understand money management, but here it is, lo and behold, I was the first millionaire in the family, first one to graduate college, that stuff. So I had to learn money management on my own. Okay. And when you never had a bunch of money, and you wonder why the Black community, and there's a video out on how to sell to the Negro, to the Black man or the Black woman. Have you ever seen that? 60s.
I have not, but I am not surprised because we are the biggest spenders. We're the biggest consumer group. So if we really understand the power that we have, we talk about this now. And thankfully, because of social media, it's much more verbalized. And so we're much more aware. That's why I say being broke in ignorance is a choice, because the information is out there. It's not that we don't have money. We don't have assets. So like even in my industry, most advisors do not go after the Black community because they don't have assets. And that's how we make money. We either charging up front or we're making money off of the assets. So if you can't pay for my services or you don't have any assets for me to manage, then you're not worth my time. And that's why we don't have people in our industry who are targeting Black people. But that's why I have such a passion to change that narrative, because we have the money. We're just not directing it in the right ways to actually invest it, to actually build those wealth assets, to actually accumulate something and have something to show for it. That's why I'm so passionate about teaching us this.
Because our community is cash rich and credit poor.
Exactly.
Okay? Because it's like as soon as we get something, it's gone. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I got to pay these bills, and people are working to pay bills, or, and then the little money that they do have, they're not looking at it as a part of investment because they're like, well, I want to go to the movies, or I want to do this. I've been working all week, and not realizing just $10. That's why I love that game where you put $1, for every week of the year, put $1, then $2, then $4, then $8, because of compounded interest. And by the end of the year, you get to see how much you've actually put away, because with those 52 weeks, by the time it adds up, you've put away like $18 to $2,000. And then next year, take it to 2 and 4 and 8 and 16 and 32 every week, adding some money. And guess what? That's something that you can have an if you think that's, if you're a person that think that you can't invest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can't put something to the side. Well, this is a great way to do that. It's like the penny that compounds every day, but a week. And then when you do it over the course, because a year goes by so fast,
It
and if
does.
you do it over the course of a couple of years, you can have 15, 20,000, and you're like, whoa, I didn't realize that I saved this much. Well, now you can invest it into something, and you can spread it out amongst a couple of things. And here it is, you've built up your portfolio.
Mm-hmm. Most people don't understand the hardest part is starting. They always ask, oh, how do I don't have any money to invest. I don't have any money to save. And it's like, you have money, because you can look through your budget, and, people hate the word budget, but
But it's
it's
not
the
bad.
only way to understand what your money is doing is knowing where it's going. So if you go and look at your last month's statement and go through and see everything that you've paid for, you can carve out a good amount of money that you wasted on something, right? And you don't have anything to show for it. You're not enjoying it. I'm not saying not to enjoy life, but everything should be within reason. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, then you need to figure out how to make some more income to be able to loosen those reins, so that you're not stressed out to where you got to go spend all this money on a weekend just to be able to make it through Monday through Friday. Your life is not supposed to be spread out that way. But if you understand the power of increasing your income, even just by adding additional skills, we've seen from the pandemic, we've seen so many additional income sources and streams that there's no excuse not to be able to make any more money. At this point, it is a choice, because you can do things on the side. And people say, well, I don't have extra time. You do, because you're on this internet all day long. You're
Social
watching all
media.
the latest shows all day long. You know what's
Well,
going on in the
Cat
sports
Williams.
world.
You listen
Exactly.
to Cat Williams?
3 hours of Cat William, but you can't take an hour-long course to educate you on how to make some more money. It's a choice.
I'm falling asleep. It's bored. Okay, because you don't
Pick your
said a
struggle.
mouthful. You don't said a mouthful, Crystal. Because people don't want to take responsibility for making a change. They want it to be easy, and they want it to be quick. And it's like when it's super quick, then something goes wrong. And I hate to say it. Yes, can you make $1 million in a year? Yeah, you can. But there's some groundwork that's done before that in order to make that happen. It can happen. Because
Exactly.
we saw it during the plant scamdemic, right? Folks
Mhm.
went from stimulus check to $1 million in a year.
Exactly.
Okay. But, and like I tell everybody has a skill set. And within that skill set, you have an opportunity to profit off of it. And
Mhm.
so now you just need to know what are the tools in the trade. And with AI, which has been around forever, but now they're just really bringing it to the forefront, AI can turn your whole situation into something completely different. Okay.
Exactly.
You can look all amazing with AI. You can make greeting cards. You can write a book. There's so much that you can do now, that you create a journal. There's no, those are blank pages. I mean, I'm just like,
Mhm. Exactly.
I'm just like, dude, I don't even want to really hear it. Or ma'am, I really don't want to hear it, because there is a way. But where a lot of people get confused is they don't know where to start. They get nervous, they get scared. They're like, I don't know where to start. Who do I go to? So if they want to come to you, Crystal, what's the first thing they would need to do?
So it depends on what they're looking for. So here's what I'll say. There's plenty of free information that is out there. So if you are just getting started, you just want to know how to do something, how do I start investing? Okay. You can set up an investment account at a million different investment firms. They're very easy to do. You can start putting money in there. If you come to me, I'm a financial planner, so I'm going to give you a financial plan. So there is a cost associated with that, right? So it really depends on what you're trying to do, because if they do come to me, then I am going to be prepared to put a plan together for you. You don't have to have anything. You don't have to know anything. That's my job, to educate you and to be able to provide you the tools and the strategy of what you need to do. So you don't have to come to the table knowing or understanding any of this. My gift is in my explanation. I like
Mm.
to break things down to a third grade level, because again, I have children who now understand stocks, who now understand investing, just because of the conversations that I've had. I didn't have to break down and show them charts and graphs and none of that. None of that is even necessary. So we try to overcomplicate things, but if we take it step by step, figure out what it is that you want to do, and figure out what is going to be the best way for you to get there. Because you're either going to pay with your money or your time. One of
Hello.
the two, you choose.
I used to tell my sons, either you going to play now and pay later, or you're going to pay now and then you can play later.
I
But either
noticed.
way, you're going to pay.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
For
You're
sure.
going to pay. So now that we got all that stuff out of the way, how is it being single? Do you have some of these guys trying to holler at you because of how smart and beautiful you are? I mean, gee whiz, you're helping so many people on social media. Do they be DMing you and things like, we wouldn't be called? Now remember, we're definitely on the financial side, but this is the Pussycat Talk podcast. So we kind of get into some other stuff on this one as well. We brainiacs, but then we talk about the other stuff too. So what is it like dating, being single and single mother of girls for that matter?
Ooh, it is not for the faint of heart. Okay, let me tell you that. It's a lot different because I've had to learn and grow a lot. Very particular. I don't bring people around my kids. So my dating life is completely separate from my kids. I've been divorced for 6 years and they've only met one boyfriend, which was over a period of 3 years. I understand having girls, I have to be way more selective, but I also understand that I am not one of those parents who is like, oh, I'm gonna wait till my kids get grown because I don't want to bring men around them. I need my daughters to see what it looks like to be in a proper relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I need them to know how to handle conflict. I need them to know how to be treated. I need them to see, oh, if something does not work out, it's okay for me to leave. Not saying that you give up quickly, but if it's an unhealthy or not serving you in that situation, I need them to understand that. So I don't take that route of, oh, I can't date because of my girls. No, the men I date, until they become like a permanent fixture in my life, meaning, they have passed what I think is the test of, now it's at a point where you need to be introduced to them, then I will. But that's not going to happen very often. And I'm able to have a full dating life without having to involve my kids in it. You will know that I am a mother. You will know that my kids come first. And I actually my preference is to only date people who do have kids, and preferably that have already been married too. Because you understand, it's real different making that type of lifetime commitment to somebody versus you just being out here in these streets and just having babies left and right. So it's a real different mindset and understanding. And also, me and my ex-husband have to co-parent. Like, we cool, a lot of people don't understand that because we went through a very tumultuous time, but we're adults. We've moved past it. Like, we can
We're
be,
going to be in each other's life for the rest of our lives.
whether we like it or not.
Say that because you have girls. I think it's just as interesting. I think it's just as important to be safe when you have boys. Because I
Absolutely.
have two sons. You have two girls. I have two sons. So of course, now in this day in the world, I didn't want anybody around my sons. Okay. That wasn't, if it wasn't a serious relationship
Right.
and or somebody that I was seeing for a good minute. And here it is. I ended up remarrying. I've actually been remarried. What year is this? Okay, it'll be 14 years now. I was married 13 years the first time, and 14 years, it'll be 14. So it's like, one, you definitely can find love again. So that's one.
Absolutely.
Two, I did do background checks on whoever it is I'm dating because it's different. We got internet now, okay?
I
And
100% agree.
And these men sit up here and think they got all the selections in the world, okay? And then
Okay.
we doing credit checks, okay? Look,
I know that's right.
what you got? Am I lying? Oh, what? Like,
100%. A
what's your
hundred
portfolio looking like? Okay.
Exactly. Because you're not going to come up in my life, disrupting my life and disrupting my peace with your shenanigans that I got to figure out years and years later. Absolutely. Background checks, credit reports. I'm looking at all that because not only are we partnering in life, like I'm bringing you into the lives of my children if I decide that you're making it that far, but also I need to look at the foundation that we're starting with because I'm looking at how we build it in the future. So,
To you and ask you for something, and then because your credit ain't right, I was like, oh my God, that means we having issues.
right.
Okay.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, I give grace because, first of all, I understand the world of credit. So if your credit is bad, I can help you fix it, right? Like it's
Mhm.
not the end of the world, but I don't want you hiding from it. I don't want you not acknowledging
Being
it
in
because
denial.
exactly, because then I can't help you. I can't help what I don't know. There's nothing that I can't help, but I got to know what I'm working with first.
And that's why I said now, as we're sitting here talking, we're like, yes, information is there for us to be able to find out. If we can't get it from our family members now, we can find out so much. So for you to be uneducated, don't want to even get on the internet to find the information, it's like, dude, you're definitely not a match for me because I need to know that you're going to be willing to look this information up if I'm not around. And I find it so easy. A friend of mine, she's like, oh, well, he's a blue collar worker. I said, but does he have potential? Does he
Thank
does he
you.
have to have money in order for him to make you happy? I'm gonna ask you that question. Does he have to be balling and shot calling for you
Absolutely
to?
not.
Okay,
Absolutely not. Here's the thing though. I love this argument just because it fascinates me. No, they do not have to be a millionaire to date me. However, the people that I attract are people who are hustlers and who know how to make some money. So
okay,
I've never had to put it out there and be like, "Oh, you got to make six figures." But at the same time, the people I attract are people who are going to be on a level to where money is not your major concern because I
correct.
can't help you if I'm a financial advisor. I can't advise when you ain't got no finances. You see what I'm saying? So it's not that I would not date a blue collar worker. Because what people don't understand is blue collar workers can make six figures as well. It's not
Yes,
about that. It's about what you're doing. Because I was able to save over 100K before I ever made 100K in my investment accounts. So I don't discriminate against based off what you're making. It's what you're doing with that money. It's how you handle your finances. It's like you said, the potential. Because we have to be a little cognizant when we talk about potential because potential can go either way. Potential can just
right.
sit there and frustrate you if you're not living in it or not utilizing it or not willing to utilize it to progress further. If you don't have the desire, if you don't have the belief system that you can be more, then I can't deal with you. So that's why, you've seen that clip from A Different World where she was saying how a man of that caliber would never be broke. Like that's the type of energy that I'm on. It's not about how much you
Exactly.
make, it's about what you do with it and how much you keep. So if you have the ambition and you just don't have the guidance, oh, I got you all day long. Like I can make sure that you are more successful if you are open to it, if you're willing to accept the help and you're open to going into that direction.
But the question is, can you allow him to lead?
If he's capable of leading 100%.
Okay,
So
because
it's
smart girls, they got it going on. That's
mhm,
the alpha female. Can you be led?
100%. See, this is what I love. I want to be led, but you got to be above me to lead me. You
You
can't.
can't sit up and try to tell me what to do and you ain't even did it.
Thank
Or
you. Like,
okay, that's
because
like crazy to me,
it
right?
is. Because here's the narrative about being a strong Black woman. We don't want to be strong Black women. We have to
Wait,
be.
say it again, Crystal. Say it again. Say it again. Say it again.
We don't want to be strong Black women. We have to be. We ain't got no choice. Because if we don't do it, who gonna do it?
It automatic our DNA with the Black community, it automatically kicks in survival mode. Okay.
100%.
And I remember somebody was visiting at our house, and because I have nothing but males in the house, she's like, "You're making her be not like a male, but her response because she's in survival mode." Okay. Because there's so much, testosterone around. There is no estrogen outside of me and the dog. So my response is going to be like your response because there's no balance. So we have to have a level of balance in order for us to be able to communicate. So, my son says, "Mom, you're not being soft right now." I said, "Because you coming at me a little bit aggressive. And
Thank
if you're
you.
coming at me aggressive, then that means I'm in survival mode." So for strong Black women, it's a matter of, can you be led?
Exactly. And this is the thing, because I actually had this conversation with my ex-boyfriend. He was very well to do, well off, but I didn't know it when we first dated. I didn't know until actually years later because I wasn't with him for his money and I didn't understand how much money his firm actually brought in, right? And so we had this conversation because he's like, Black women don't like to submit and all this. And I said, that's not true. I said, in our time of dating, did you ever do you consider me a strong Black independent woman? He said, absolutely. I said, okay, in our time of dating, did you ever have an issue with leading me or telling me what we should do? And he had to think about it. He was like, no. I said, exactly. It doesn't have to be a conversation when you're already a leader. If you are able to take control, I'm going to sit down and be a passenger seat princess all day long. Don't play with it. Like, yes, babe, where we going? What we doing? Where we eating
Okay.
at? Where are we going on
Can you
vacation
just
at?
make the decisions for me, please? I don't want to make the decisions.
I don't.
And when that man is there, we automatically fall to that position. Okay.
Exactly.
But
if you don't know where you're going, then I'm not where you leading me to. It requires a strong Black leader to lead a strong Black woman and let her operate in her feminine energy. Because when I was with him, he ain't never had to be like, oh, you always act da 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 da. And I had to really point it out to him, like, you ain't never had that issue with me. Because I don't have to say, oh, I'm submitting to you. But when you know how to lead, I'm automatically going to take the back seat. Absolutely. What you
it's
say
like,
goes.
yes.
Thank
Hallelujah.
you.
Okay.
Let me be relieved of this duty because it is too much to bear. I don't want to be this way. But when you come around here and you don't got your stuff together and you don't know what you're doing and you ain't got your money together and you ain't got your credit together and you ain't got your career together, then I got to get you together. Then I got to step into that role and I will do it. And if you are still able to take the leadership role after you've gotten to that point, I can still fall back. But you have to be able to lead me in order for me to be comfortable taking the back seat to it. Because I need to know that you know what you're doing.
Okay. All right. It's some shoot. Now I done relinquished, but yet some didn't get paid or something, and just don't ask me, babe, what do you want to eat? You should already know these things.
Absolutely.
Where do you want to go? You should already know these things.
Absolutely.
And so that's why one of the reasons why I wanted to do the interview with you, because I'm like, okay, she's strong, but can she be submissive? Can she be docile? Can she be soft and still maintain who she is?
Absolutely.
We can do those things. We can be both. That's the difference with Black women. Black women, right? We can be one, but it has to be that right fit, that right glove, and to say, okay, I'm willing to fall back because I'm comfortable to know that you're going to lead me the right way.
You got it. Because what they say, I'm every woman. Like we are every woman. I am whoever I need to be in that moment to get to the next level. So if I got to be strong, independent by myself, doing this on my own, I'm guaranteed I'm going to do it. And I ain't even going to talk about it because I'm just going to do it. But if I am with a man who can lead me, I am going to be your support system. I am going to be your shoulder to lean on. I am going to be your soft pillow to lay on. Like I will be everything that you need as long as you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're doing your part. Because even to your point where you say, like, what if a bill don't get paid? Thankfully, I've been in all my relationships where the men have allowed me to pay the bills. They give me the money and I pay all the bills because I'm a financial advisor, because I'm super anal when it comes to paying all that stuff. That's my area of expertise. So I have an issue if a man is doing all that because I'm looking. I'm like, wait a minute, I gotta make sure all of this is good. So thankfully, the relationships I have been in, including my ex-husband, my ex-boyfriend, they have been comfortable with me handling the finances. So it doesn't take anything away from their leadership role. They'd rather not do it anyway. You know what I mean? It's the
I will
same
say,
thing for us.
I will say my husband now, my husband before he was a straight super alpha male. So it was like he did everything, controlled everything. And I'm just like, dang. And I ended up being one of those wives, let me sneak and take this money and buy stuff and put it in the closet where he don't see it. Cause that's what women would do.
Uh-huh.
My current husband, and rest his soul, because he passed from COVID. But my current husband, he's like, babe, here's the check. Just make sure I got the. I remember he was like, when we first got together, he was like, just give me $20. I said, $20? You need more than $20. He said, I trust what you're going to do. I said, but you need more than $20. But
Right.
it just goes to show that, in a lot of households, women did handle the money, and he is so old school, but that's how he was raised. It's like, okay, I
Mm-hmm.
go make the money and boom, you make sure that it's spread out the way it needs to be spread out and bills
Exactly.
are taken care of. So that's something in our DNA, in our community that we have grown up with that has never changed. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where I know some other women of other nationalities, they don't have no money. They don't know where stuff is located. And here it is, they being put out on the street. And then I'm like, wait a minute, you don't know where nothing is? And
Mm-mm.
I've seen that happen in real life where she was married and her husband walked away with everything.
It's
And she got home and her clothes was on the street and he had sold the house. She had went away with a friend. They was on like a little vacation or something. But when she got back, he had sold the house and everything. And her stuff was like right in front of on the side of the garage, all her clothes. Can you imagine coming home? And he had filed for divorce and she didn't even know because she never got served the paperwork. It was like it was an abandonment. So she had went
mhm.
away, but it was like abandonment. So he was able to, and it was nothing she can do about it.
You have to have, independence is looked at in such a bad way, right? I
Mhm.
think everybody needs to have a level of independence. Your spouse should have their own level of independence. You should have your own, your kids should, everybody needs a level of independence. So it's not a bad thing to have independence. It is understanding where the strengths and the weaknesses run in between your partnership. Because a lot of times what we do is we like what we like, but it's not compatible with our personalities. So if I
Correct.
am a strong Black woman, I can be with a strong Black man as long as we're not clashing heads in the same area. If you are taking care of this, then I can take care of this. That alleviates this responsibility for me so that I can focus my energy over here where I am better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what has to
Absolutely.
happen in households as well as business, right? When we talk about partnerships, you have to partner with somebody who is strong where you are weak and vice versa. And that's how you can explode your growth because you don't have to worry about the things that you're not good at.
Correct. Because you balance each other out. Yin and yang. You
Mm-hmm.
balance each other out. All right. So I got one more question. Actually, I have two more questions. So in relationships, I want you to give top 4 things. Okay. A couple can do because we got our women audience and they need to know what's going on. So what is the top 4 things that you think a female can do in the relationship or for themselves, or a male can do prior to getting together in financing and investing?
So the biggest number one thing that most people don't do is have a conversation about finances. People go into marriages and into dating with this, oh, we'll figure it out, right? You may grow up with a whole different relationship with money than your partner. And you need to understand that if your partner is a super saver and a super hoarder of money and you are free and willy nilly with your money, y'all gonna
Class.
clash so much on how you handle finances. And that's going to be a number one issue. One of the number one leaders of divorce is financial. It's not infidelity. So understanding what your financial relationship is is so, so important. You know, for when I got married, my whole thing was I saw my parents who were married for 22 years. I saw them fight about money. And so
Mm-hmm.
my whole thing was, I'm not fighting about money. And, you know, I had to go about my way of doing that. And me and my ex-husband, we didn't until we got divorced. We never fought about money. So that was very important. But I had to handle it in such a way because I was a super saver and he was not a super saver. He's a spender, but he wasn't like a person who carried debt or anything. So I found out a way that made sense for both of us to where we would not argue about money. We had separate accounts. We had different things of how we wanted to handle stuff so that I wasn't looking if he spent $200 on some Jordans, and looking and being like, excuse me, sir, what is we doing? Because that would cause an argument. So I think that is very important, is having that conversation just so you have that understanding before you even go into it, because a lot of people don't have that conversation until
They don't
it's
have
too
that
late.
talk. They do not
Exactly.
have
And
that
then
talk.
they're fighting over it already. So that's number one. That's the first thing over anything. Second thing is understanding what the expectations are. So expectations are the killer of all joy, because you may expect something from someone and they don't know that that's your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding what your expectations are of yourself and your role, what your expectations are of your partner, what the expectations are in relation to children. Because again, by me already having kids, I had to have that conversation with my ex-boyfriend. I'm not leaving you alone with my kids. I don't care
Hello.
how much I trust you and we can sleep in the bed next to each other every night. But at the end of the day, I will not risk the potential or possibility of my kids going through anything that could scar them. So I don't care how you feel about it as far as whether I'm going to make this decision or not. You get to make that decision whether you agree with it or not. You see what I'm saying? So
I totally 1000% agree.
exactly. So having understanding those expectations, huge time saver, huge, about expectations about the family. Do you want to have more kids? Do you want to have kids at all? Do you want to get married? All these things are
Do you want
very
them to go to private school?
right.
All of that. Are
Yeah,
you willing to put some savings to the side for investing? Because again, I don't believe in savings per se. I
right.
believe in investing because the money doesn't grow. I'm sorry.
Exactly. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Savings are short term. They're not meant to
Yes.
be there long term. It's just for, if you need to get to something quickly, you need to be able to have access to something. But as
Mhm.
far as anything considered long term, which is a year or more, you definitely need to have it invested because it's not going to grow. And if you do have it in savings, at least have it in a high yield savings account so it at least will earn some interest to help fight off inflation. So I agree with that. And then the last thing is really, really getting a handle when it comes to finances on what you already have. So a lot of people don't audit what they already have going on. So you don't know what your budget is. You don't know how much money you have left over every month. You don't know how much is in your 401k account. You don't know how much is in your savings. You're not putting anything away. So you can't go into a situation blind, not knowing what you have going on, because then you can't even have the proper conversation with your partner. And so you both need to take a good audit of where you are now. This is why I say, when you talk about the background checks and the credit checks, that's a conversation.
That's some real stuff. People
Mm-hmm.
people are blown away that I mean, and again, this was 14 years ago. They were 15 years. They were blown away that I was very serious about doing a background check. I was like, no, I
100%.
need to know, does this person have any felonies and killed somebody? Okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
In the credit portion, credit at the time was a little bit different in reference to being able to look it up even
Right.
15 years ago than it was right now. But I'm just like, okay, do you pay your bills on time? My husband is a saver. He likes to
Hmm.
save. He's one of those people that he's like my dad. My father is a retired stock and options trader.
Okay.
He was vice president of Pershing Stock Exchange in Chicago. So that's a little bit different. But my husband and my dad, they'll put, and I guess they're going to take coins away. They put any change, those water jugs, and it'd be $10,000 worth. Okay.
Right.
So they're like that, old school. But I totally agree with what you're saying because things are different now. You can take your change and literally go on an app and invest that. You know,
Exactly.
So when people say they don't have money, you're lying. You need
Right.
to cancel some of these doggone apps that you have on your phone, because
Big
by the time you
subscriptions.
look at it, you're spending literally over $200 in subscriptions.
Exactly. And you spend stuff unnecessarily. So, people door dashing food. It's like, you too lazy. You already lazy enough where you're not cooking it. That's fine. I eat out quite a bit as well, because when I don't have my kids,
Not
it's
like
just
you used
me.
to. Right. It's not.
But am I gonna DoorDash it and pay an extra $10 for the same food that I already have coming out my budget? No. So again, there's ways to do things. There's accounts like Acorn that'll allow you to round up based off what you spend. You can force yourself to invest, and you don't have to have some complicated investment strategy. There's mutual funds that are conducive to the whole market. So it's very simple. There's plenty of information out there about, just put it in the S&P and just put it in this and just put it in
My
that.
favorite.
So you don't, it's not that complicated, but you have to be willing to put in that little bit of work so that you can have some long-term results. And what you will find is that you'll be surprised how much you do end up saving, because even when you do like those savings challenges, your mind is focused on it, so it allows for you to do it. It's not that it's hard for you to put $3 away, every Tuesday, but if you're not thinking about it, you're not going to do it. So whatever you focus on will grow. So if you focus on building wealth, it will grow. If you focus on food, your waistline gonna grow. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
if you focus on cars, your car collection is gonna grow. Whatever you focus on is what's going to grow.
Yeah, whatever you mentally manifest, whatever you think about it, you bring about. Okay. And people don't understand that. So if you're thinking about debt, then you're going to be in debt. If you're thinking about, oh my God, my health, then you're going to have issues with your health. If you're thinking poorly about your health, that is.
Exactly.
But if you're thinking differently, but you still have to do some execution at the end of the day. You can't just think that it's going to come to you, meaning living in a level of insanity that you just think, oh, it's going to change. It'll change. What are you doing to make it change? Okay.
Exactly.
There's some things that you're going to have to do. So, Crystal, I'm so excited about this. Thank you so much for joining today. I know you weren't thinking we were going to talk about that stuff, but girl, this is Pussycat Talk podcast. We got to get into the little nitty gritty of the other stuff too now.
I love it. I love it. Look, I'm wholeheartedly here for the conversation, because we hear it on the other end. We hear the negative parts about it and the negative things that they say about strong Black women and independent Black women, and they can't keep no man because they don't want this, that, and the third. It's like, I ain't never had an issue keeping a man. Like, don't get it twisted. I make myself to where it's going to be a beneficial situation, and you have to look at it like that. If somebody is not better for knowing you, then you're the problem.
Right. I will say this last thing before we close, because I hear this all the time, and I'm not an advocate of saying these words, but do you feel like you need a man?
I need air. I need food. I need water. I need God. There's a lot of things I need. I don't need a man. Do I desire a man? Will I be able to exponentially grow with the right partner? 100%. 100%.
I had to ask that because, again, like I said, you generation what, and I'm generation X. Okay. So when girls like, I don't need no man, I said, that you're missing the point. It's not about necessarily needing. It's about, you cannot go to bed every night with a battery operated device. I'm sorry.
Exactly. No, it's a desire. We are not meant to be alone. Man was not created to be alone. We are not meant to be alone. Can I be alone? Yes, because
Yes,
I'm going to be able to sit with
absolutely.
myself and learn from my past mistakes and learn more about myself. So when I get into my next relationship, they will be prepared and understand how to deal with me, because I will understand how to deal with me. But am I supposed to be alone for the rest of my life? Absolutely
No.
not. That's not how we were created. We are social beings. We are not, people who are supposed to be isolated. So, do I desire to have a life partner in my next husband? 100%. And do I believe that that's going to happen? 100%.
That's good. Supposed to be partnered with someone and literally living out our best life, and to show that for our children. And even though their dad and I had divorced, we co-parented. So, and I heard him say to somebody, oh, I don't have a baby mama drama. I don't have any, she don't give me no issues. And I didn't even have him on child support. Okay. Because it was more important for him to spend time with them than it was for the freaking money. We
Exactly.
always find a way. Now, some people thought I
Always.
was insane. I said the mental health of having their father in their life is more important than money.
100%. But that's what makes us great women, because we understand the value of things, and we're not money driven. It's not about the money. It is about what the value is that it brings. So my children having a relationship with their father is very valuable, and I would never step in the way of that, no matter what me and him have going on. And I want for people to understand that, like, yes, we went through our drama, so don't get me twisted. Like, there was some time we was at
Oh,
war,
yes.
when we were going through the divorce or whatever. So it's not saying that you won't have those times, but once you give it time and allow yourself to mature above the situation, above the hurt, above the distrust, or whatever the case may be, then you realize that it's not about me and him. It won't never about me and him once we brought kids into the world. So at the end of the day, we all have to sacrifice in some way, shape, or form for our kids, or they're going to be damaged because of the sacrifices we're not willing to make.
That is correct. And then we're continuing to pass on generational curses. And the
Mm-hmm.
number one goal is to break the curses financially, showing our children how they can move financially by investing and being able to understand their credit, and then being able to say, hey, whatever partner I have in my life, we can talk about money and not feel uncomfortable, because some
Right.
people feel uncomfortable talking about fine, I'll discuss. Well, then you're not the person for me, because we need to
Absolutely.
have a conversation so we know that we are gelling together. So, Crystal, thank you so much for joining us today. It was
Thank
an
you for having
delightful. Yeah, girl, let everybody know where they can find you.
Absolutely. This was a joy and a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on your show. You can follow me on Instagram, Built with Crystal. Make sure you check in with me there. That is going to have all of my information, the way to contact me, the way to get on my calendar if you do need a financial planner to help you guide you through your wealth building journey.
Absolutely. And guys, you know who I am. I'm Dr. Tamara here with Pussycat Talk Podcast and the Fanpreneurs. We will be back with another episode. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Don't forget to follow Crystal, Build with Crystal, okay? All right, everybody. Bye for now.